Today, I have a natural conversation with two fluent speakers for you so that you can practice to become more fluent yourself. Remember, if this conversation is a little difficult for you, you can join my free More English Club at the link in the description below. I'll send you a PDF with all the vocabulary you're going to need for this conversation. All right, let's do it. All right, so here I am with Josh and Amber, and I'm going to let them go ahead and introduce themselves and their channel and what they do. So I'll turn it over to you all.
What's up, guys? We are Josh and Amber. We are from Waggle Friends English. We spent 4 years living in China, trying to learn Mandarin while living in the country, living and working there. And we know what it's like to be language babies. So,
Yeah, but we did not grow up anywhere close to China. At that time, when we moved over there, it was moving to big cities when we were not big city kind of people. And it was kind of a shock at first, growing up in small town Arkansas. But it was a really good experience for us. And we kind of saw that difference of how challenging it can be for a language learner
yeah.
and to go from, I don't know how to speak the language, I'm not in that language, to
Yeah.
I want to learn the language. And so we saw that when we were abroad personally, but we also saw that with our students trying to learn English. And so when we came back from China, we decided that that was a really good time for us to keep on using those skills that we learned there in China. And we started our YouTube channel then. We started our business then, where we work with predominantly upper intermediate and advanced speakers, just trying to get that conversational, just being more confident and confident in English so that they can kind of do better with life here in an English speaking country.
For sure. Yeah.
Fabulous. So you mentioned small town America. We're all small town people, so I can really relate and also can relate to there's the culture shock no matter where. Even if you're going from the same size town to the same size town, there's you add that into it. But before we get to that, tell us a little bit about growing up in Arkansas, kind of where you were, how big was the town? Tell us a little bit about what that's like.
We had two very different experiences. Arkansas is very small. You can drive from one end to the other end in 6 hours. So for some people, I guess that's not that small. Like if you're in
Yeah.
Europe, not that small. But
Yeah.
it's a small state next to Texas, which is really big.
Yep.
But we had two very different upbringings.
Yeah, just as a disclaimer here, it's pronounced, for some people who don't know, it is pronounced Arkansas, not Arkansas, which is very close to us as well. Most people, if they know, we've traveled abroad and they know anything of Arkansas, they know two things. They think that it's pronounced Arkansas, and they know that probably Bill and Hillary Clinton came from Arkansas. And that's a pretty decent amount of information because Arkansas is one of those places, one of those states in America that you can kind of pass over it and be like, what is in Arkansas? And so she's right. We came from different backgrounds. I came from more of the suburbs kind of background, kind of what I thought of myself kind of as a city boy. And especially when I met her, because she grew up in a town of like 200 people. So there were
Wow.
more cows than there were people.
Very much so.
So when
Well, yours was 10,000.
yeah, it was
Still a
small.
small town, but 10,000 people.
Yeah, it was, even though it was only 10,000 people, that's what I like to say. She's like, whoa, you had 10,000 people? I had 200.
They had stoplights. That's so
Yeah.
different.
And probably fast food.
Yeah.
Yes, we have like
Yeah.
6 fast food restaurants, so that was pretty
Whoa.
good.
You
Um,
had more than one church,
we had,
right?
yeah,
More than your school is like a university campus, which is
yeah,
unusual.
that was pretty strange.
That's great.
Our school, our city, town, whatever word we use for the township of that city, it had invested really heavily into the education, so it had a very significant school.
Oh,
Yes.
wow. And you said it was kind of suburban. Was it near one of the large, I say one of because I'm assuming there's more than one large city in Arkansas?
Yeah, yeah, it was kind of it was in. it was nearby a bigger city, so that's why I say suburbs. It's everybody basically would go to that city if they wanted to do anything fun or entertainment or university, they would go over there. But like it's kind of where like the old people were. They were just kind of retiring out and stuff like that. And
It's
so
still nice.
it
Like
was nice.
it's nice there because you could be in suburbs, go 2 streets over, and you're looking at cows.
Yeah, yeah,
So
that's a good way to describe it.
it's still very different
Well,
here.
yeah, it's
It's
cows
just
as
cows.
far as the eye can see.
You
Yeah,
blink, you miss our one stop sign, and you go right through.
and get pulled over. I'm just kidding.
And not only cows, like horizon and
Yeah,
Yes.
sky. And so,
Yeah.
for those who don't know, including me, Little Rock is like the biggest city. Is that right? Little
yeah.
Rock,
Yes.
Arkansas?
Yes, it's the biggest city. It's like 300,000 people-ish.
But in the state, it's like 3 million people.
Yeah,
So
it's
it's a pretty
pretty.
good sized city for our state.
Yeah, it's pretty spread out. The
Yeah.
first time we ever traveled in China, we went to a city of 300,000 people, and we were like, "Oh my goodness, we're going to the size of like our state capital." Oh my God, that's kind of nervous. Like I'm
And
kind
they were like, it's a village. What are you talking about?
of
It's like
you're
a
we were
village.
rubbing elbows with other foreigners that were also traveling, and they're like, where are you going? Where are you going?" And they're like, we were doing it in population sizes, and they're like, "We're going to a city of 2 million, to a city of 4 million, to a city of 13 million," and we were like, "Oh my goodness, we're going to the smallest city in this group of people." It was wild.
It was.
Yes. And Josh, you used a great idiom there, rubbing elbows with people. Can you
Yes.
tell us a little more about what you meant by that?
Just we were there with a group of people and we were all kind of talking about where we're going to go, what
What
we're
we wanted
going
to
to do, what
see.
we're going to hoping to see. And so when we were rubbing elbows, it wasn't Zoom rubbing elbows. It was
Right.
actual like being in the same room, but that doesn't mean actual like,
Yeah.
rubbing the elbows. It just means being in proximity. Yeah. Like
It was, it
like
wasn't COVID, or was it?
can't
There you go. It's
you
like
can't do
COVID.
handshakes anymore because of COVID. So you got to, no, I'm just kidding.
It was though, like rubbing elbows definitely has this meaning of you do it more than once, right? So
Mm,
we were in a hostel together, we were eating meals together and hanging out before we went off to have our adventures.
yeah.
So it was like one of those things. It's
It's
pretty
pretty
fun.
cool.
People you're getting to know a little bit, at least.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Which
Yes.
I have rubbed elbows with the Clintons.
You have. Wow.
Specifically, Bill. Hillary was there, but I went to a like a fundraiser dinner. So
Yeah.
I could say that I've rubbed elbows with him, although it was more of just a handshake. Hello, how are you?
Yeah.
There you go. Yes. There you go.
What
More, not really a lot of elbow rubbing.
There you go.
was that after his presidency or before? I'm really terrible with dates and
He was
history.
93 to 2001 when we were kids.
Okay.
There you go. Yeah.
So,
It was after his presidency and before Hillary was really active in politics, but it was pretty, you could kind of tell that they were setting Hillary up to be more widely known
yeah,
and introduced
that
by
is
more.
so cool, man.
That is so
Yeah,
cool.
it was cool. In Arizona. So you're in Arkansas. I was in Arizona at the time. So
Well, there you
Wow.
go. On the way there, closer to us than from California.
I've had so
oh,
many
a
people
little.
ask me if I know Clinton. So many people, they're like, "Oh yeah, yeah, where Clinton is. Do you know him?" And I'm like, "No, I don't know him."
We know the town. We do have better odds of knowing by the size of our state, though,
Yeah, I mean, the
population.
fact that our state is so small, I mean, statistically speaking, I do have a higher percent chance of knowing, but yet, I mean, I have never seen the man, so
Right.
Tanya has,
yeah, but
so
you have. That's so wild.
Because someone I know paid a lot of money so we could go to that
there
dinner.
you
Yeah.
It was pretty well planned. So,
go.
tell us a little bit about the history of Arkansas, how it, whatever you might know that would help us
Right.
to kind of get a feel for it.
My goodness. Arkansas was considered the wild lands there for a while, along with everything else west of the Mississippi.
Hmm.
So the Spanish explorers went through, the French eventually went and kind of took it over because they had New Orleans down at the bottom of the Mississippi River, and they just kind of controlled everything on the Mississippi River. So much of our state, all the plantations that used to be there, the all the rice fields and everything that wants to be next to the Mississippi River, still still very much, you could tell that part was settled first. But
Okay.
everything else that happened kind of went expanded along the Arkansas River, which cuts through the middle of the state. And you could tell our biggest cities are kind of there. Our oldest cities, our oldest places are there. So we didn't become a state. Well, America got it with the Louisiana Purchase, Thomas Jefferson in 1903, or no, 1803. And then 1836 is when we finally became a state. So the 25th state, actually, right in the middle.
Yeah.
So it was right in the
Wow.
middle. But from there, like, there's a lot of history with Native Americans in the
Mhm.
area, and unfortunately, a lot of unfair practices of them getting land to help settle white settlers in the state. We have a lot of history with segregation problems, issues. Little Rock Nine is one of the unfortunate, but one of the most famous things about Little Rock that people know outside of our state. That's where nine African American students were escorted in by troops, guardsmen, in order to go to school safely in the Little Rock High School. It was forcing desegregation in 1957. So that was a big thing. So a lot of people, when they type in Little Rock, Arkansas, that's what they see.
Yeah.
And so, but it's not a racist place. These are the sweetest people, the kindest people now. It's hard to think that that was not terribly long ago,
Yeah,
you
and
know?
Arkansas can be really surprising because
Hmm.
there's about out of the Fortune 500 companies, there's about five-ish
Wow.
that have started here in Arkansas.
It's true.
One of the predominant ones being Walmart being started here.
Wow.
I know, right? Everywhere now.
Sam Walton
Um,
everywhere.
there's even like a little museum where he started his own like first little store that
Mhm.
you can see. It's pretty cool. It's like I said, it's one of those like I don't know, hush hush states that like things definitely happen there and there's history behind it, but
Mhm.
it's just not super well known to people that aren't in the
Yeah,
area.
nobody's proud of the past with the difficulty, but there's always been people that were, um, I mean, even the Civil War, we sent soldiers north and south.
Mm.
So
Wow.
the Confederates and the Union, even though it's technically a Confederate state. So it's like one of those things, the state has always been divided. And you can see that now with our geography. In the north, we have those mountains, the Boston Mountains. We have a lot of hillbillies. People know Arkansas by hillbillies as well, and the Ozarks.
Yeah.
Um, so, and that's very different culture than the south of Arkansas, where you have a lot more farms, you have a lot more marshlands. Everybody hunts, though. I would say that's a huge culture
That's
here.
yeah, there's big hunting culture.
Big hunting culture. There's a racehorse culture, not as big as Kentucky's, but there is a racehorse culture. So it's fascinating, and it's all tied to history. It's all tied together. But
Wow. It's very diverse. It's much more diverse actually than even I knew. I've been there, but I didn't. And typically when I go places, I love to know the history. But
for sure,
yeah,
yes.
that's cool. So speaking of that, if someone were going to come and visit Arkansas, I'm sure there's lots of great things to see, but what would be like the you must see this or go here kind of thing?
Oh my
A
goodness.
big thing in Arkansas, like each state has their own like little motto at, you know, for the
Hmm.
state. The motto for Arkansas is the natural state. And that's because we have those mountains that she was talking about, lots of forests,
Oh,
lots of
millions.
outdoor culture.
Millions of people will come visit in the fall because it's so beautiful here. It's like going to Maine to see the fall in the Maine in Maine. It's kind of the
Uh,
same here. We see so many visitors from all over the place when just to drive through our mountain areas.
So
It's gorgeous.
a few places that if you're going on vacation here that you gotta see. Number one I think of is we have caves. We have super cool caves, especially in those hills that we've been talking about. For example, you have things like
Legend
Blanchard Springs
Springs.
Cave. You have a place called Devil's Den up in
Mm.
Northwest Arkansas, which are really cool. And then
Petit Jean State Park.
and then we have some mountains like Petit Jean State Park, Pinnacle Mountains right next to Little Rock. So if you go to Little Rock, you can just
Hmm.
kind of pop on over to Pinnacle, which is really cool. We got
Mount Magazine.
Mount Magazine is
It's
another
huge.
one.
That's our tallest mountain.
Yeah, we have and lakes too, really beautiful lakes. We have things like places like Lake DeGray, which is probably the one that I think of first when I think of lakes in
Greer's
Arkansas.
Ferry.
Greer's Ferry, which is kind of
Mm.
north central. So a
We,
lot of natural places.
yes. a lot of natural places. But if you like museums, we have the Arkansas Heritage Museum, which was really cool. Somebody literally went around Arkansas, picked up houses, like historic houses that were about to be demolished, took them to Little Rock, and just put them there in the middle of the city,
So
and made this
there's
this whole
skyscrapers in the middle of Little Rock surrounding this little farm that's right there in the
yeah.
middle. And
And people will get there and they'll act out, they'll demonstrate how they lived at that time and churned butter and made wool things.
Wow.
It's really neat.
I would
Um,
love it.
I know it's really cool.
Yes.
Um, my goodness, it's hard to go wrong with national parks here,
yeah.
for sure. It's a common thing to come here, rent an RV, and just go on a national park tour in
Oh,
Arkansas or a
cool.
state park.
Cool. Do you know if you have much BLM land, Bureau of Land Management?
Oh
I
no,
don't
actually no.
know, actually. I know that there are a lot of states that have, especially in like the Midwest, there's a lot of
Yeah.
land out there. But most of it
Paper
is
companies own some huge tracts of land, and you can actually ride horses on it. You're allowed
Oh,
to just rent a horse and go ride on the trails there. You have to have an invitation, I believe, to do that because something like that. But I grew up doing that. It's just riding horses through these mountains, and it was all untouched and super wild. So it was really neat.
the city boy did not do that,
No,
but
he did not.
I do hear about stuff like that. I'm like, that's so cool.
the
You can
huge
have a
city of
four-wheeler.
10,000
Oh,
people.
four-wheeler would be fun.
Very cool. That's very cool. Do either or both of you have a story that kind of you might tell your family or your friends that kind of for you brings in all the Arkansas feel to it?
Hmm.
It's difficult to settle on one.
Yes.
Because the first thing that comes to mind are all the old timer stories. An old timer is an elderly person, somebody who just they probably 70 plus, but they just remember they have all these stories that seem so far ago, but it's in their lifetime, right?
Yeah.
Um, Even this past week, we were talking to an old timer who was telling us about the way he grew up in small town Arkansas. And he said that he and his siblings used to play in the cemetery. And because they were
The
his
family,
family,
yeah.
it was his family cemetery. They didn't think anything of climbing over the tombstones and seeing their relatives' names. They were like, well, yeah, we knew them, or so and so knows them. They heard stories of them, so they just would go over there and play at the cemetery.
Yeah,
And I was like,
to use his words, he would say, which I thought would, as far as the language learning goes, I thought it was really funny because he would say, "We're kin. I'm
we're
kin with him. I'm kin with him. We're kin." So it doesn't, for me, it wasn't weird to, play on these tombstones and look at these people's graves because it's like, yeah, he's my great great uncle or something like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so kin meaning relative.
Yeah,
Yes.
it was
Yeah.
pretty cool to hear that.
And then the town center is always being the church. So they'll talk about just so and so's pie, so and so's fried chicken, and they would have these big potlucks, which everybody comes and brings one dish or two
Yeah,
dishes, and everybody just shares everything. This big thing, and that be the heart and pulse of the town.
yeah.
And I grew up in a place like that, so everything he was saying, I was like, that still happens in my hometown.
I
Yeah.
So,
maybe a good maybe a good microcosm for this is
mm,
when we actually got married. We got married in a small town church, right? And a lot of people are familiar with the idea of the Southern Bible Belt. Well, Arkansas is right there. It's,
which means there's a church like every few blocks, lots
there's
Right.
of churches.
several churches and heavily influenced by Christian culture. And so when
Mm.
we got married in a church, and just as a just because we thought it would be fun and we knew that we had a lot of people that really wanted to be helpful, but helpful in a more tangible way. We said, okay, instead of having a reception, a normal reception where a lot of food's going to be brought in, we're actually going to do a potluck for our wedding reception. So if you are coming to the wedding, what we want you to do is you can either, if you want to bring a gift for us or for the wedding couple and stuff like that, that's fine. Or you can bring food
And
for the wedding. And there was so much food. There was so much food that we didn't have to worry about anything. It was
yep,
awesome.
yep,
It was so much fun.
very Arkansas.
Yeah.
Yeah, and interestingly, because this is not common, but that's what I did for my wedding too.
That's awesome.
Yes, it was in Arizona, but I grew up in the Midwest in Nebraska, and we have a lot of
Mhm.
that farm culture kind of
Yes.
thing too. So that's
Yeah.
amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. The restaurants just can't top. Like the restaurants can't make, Granny Sally's chocolate pie. Like you have to have Granny Sally make it,
That's true.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. Plus, it's so great, like you said, to get the whole community
Yeah.
Yes.
involved and everybody feels more involved and a part
Yeah.
of
Yes.
the celebration. Yeah. Oh, that's a
Absolutely.
great story, actually. Very good.
I
I
love
can't
that.
believe how fast time goes when we're just telling stories, but I would love for you to tell the viewers a little bit more about what you do, what you offer students, and how they can find you.
Sure. We have a program called Fluency Fast Track, and it's designed for adult advanced language learners. So if you're intermediate, it be a bit above your head, but the idea is shorter 30-minute to 1 hour lessons that you do on your own, and then you come to class and you talk about it. We actually do the thing. And the whole point is getting all the skills together. We're not focusing on just reading or just writing. Every assignment uses at least three different skills together. And it's a lot of fun. We have a lot of fun in there, but it is rigorous, especially if you're intermediate. We've just noticed that's too difficult there,
Yeah,
too
and
much.
another thing that we really focus on is giving like really measurable feedback. So with every like
Mhm.
class that we do, we end up writing a ton of notes, and we
Mhm.
actually put that into Excel sheet because I love Excel and I love my secret language is math, not actually English. But when we work with our students on through our classes, we get measurable feedback for them that they can then see over the course of time. And it's just a way to kind of show successes as well as improvement.
Yeah,
And it's a
over
really
with consistency.
with consistency over time.
Yeah, for sure. So, but that's what we do. And honestly, for everybody who's not in that program, we still do a lot of things on our YouTube channel. We do a lot of free content with our newsletter and just free lessons or just hanging out and talking about what this language learning journey is, because it's rough.
It's a long journey.
It is a
Yes,
long journey. I think just knowing that is helpful.
Yeah.
Yes.
absolutely.
So, how do people find your social media and the best way to get in touch with you if they're interested in working with you?
The best way to get in touch with us is by joining our newsletter, and you can email that email anytime we get that. We read every single one of them. We don't really actually do social media. We're terrible with it.
Yeah. You can find us here on YouTube as well.
Yeah.
If you look up Wide World Friends English, or you can click in probably in the link in the description below,
Mhm.
and as well as you can look up yourfluencyfasttrack.com. All
Yeah.
those places we are very intimately involved in.
Yes.
Excellent. Okay, so I'll make sure, like you said, Josh, that those links are below. And I noticed that you all have used some very rich vocabulary here that is great for advanced learners. And I'm sure this program is very helpful for those that are just trying to get that advanced level more locked in. So,
Yes, for sure. It is definitely up there sometimes, but it's fun. Learning English by the way it's spoken is really fun.
Yeah.
With this
Through
we
stories.
love the way that you're doing it through stories and comprehensible input because that's how you do it. That's how you get through here. That's
yeah,
awesome.
yes, obviously, I totally agree. A hundred
Yes.
percent.
Yeah.
So I wanted to also thank you all for inviting me to come and talk with you over on your channel. So for anyone who would like to go and see that, we will also be having that link below so that you can go check out that conversation over on your channel, which I'm going to let you guys say the name of because I haven't quite gotten it yet.
Yeah, you can find it on Why Gua Friends English.
Mhm.
Why Google Friends English?
Yeah.
It means foreign friends. Foreign friends English.
Oh, okay. Excellent. Well, I'll practice even more.
There you go.
Very good. Well, thank you, both of you. It was great to get to meet you, Josh, and to see you again, Amber. And
Yeah,
I will look forward to us having another time to talk soon.
absolutely.
Absolutely. Thank you so
Absolutely.
much,
Thank you.
Tanya.
Uh-huh. Bye-bye. That was a great conversation. And I hope that you were able to follow along with a lot of what we were saying and kind of get the idea of the conversation. If you're a member of my free More English Club, I'm going to send you a PDF with the vocabulary that will be helpful for this conversation and more ways that you can practice using this video. If you want to join, the link is in the description below. And if you're ready to watch another video so you can improve your English now, check out the one I've put on the screen for you. See you in class.